Hi, everyone, and welcome to Jehovah Boy. I'm your host, Doug Smith. Thanks so much for tuning in. Welcome to the show. If it's your first time, glad to have you here. If you're a Jehovah Boy veteran, always glad to have you back. Thanks so much for the support. Please keep the support rolling, however you choose to do so. Are you a member of the Patreon? If not, you can get full ad-free video to every episode for just $5 a month. $5 a month. You can help feed this hungry podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube, youtube.com/@WhoDougSmith. Follow me on Instagram, @WhoDougSmith. And most importantly, just spread the word. Can you do that? Can you spread the word? That's your assignment for this week. Not spread the word of God's kingdom. A lot of us have already done that. We don't need to do that. Spread the good word of this podcast. Can you tell 5 people, 5 friends specifically? Not just, oh, I heard this cool podcast, check it out. But tell them about it. Let them know. Spread the word far and wide to 5 people. I think you can do that. Let's grow this baby. Let's let them know. Also, keep those emails rolling in. You guys have been flooding my inbox. I appreciate it. You share your story. It may be shared on the show, whether you're Jehovah's Witness, Scientologist, Mormon, Hasid, whatever it may be, whatever religious extremist upbringing you had. I would love to hear your experience. I would love to share your story on the show. Again, sorry to take care of housekeeping up top, shameless self-promotion, but this podcast is nothing without you guys, and you guys are the means in which people find this out. Also, if you've been spreading the word on Reddit, I keep getting some notifications about some Reddit posts. I myself, never going on there. So whoever's spreading the word on Reddit, you're aces, baby. Thank you so much. My guest today, I was very excited to talk to. This I did not see coming. This is not something that I planned for at all in terms of my, I got a guest list of people that I've been looking to get on the show. This guy was not on my list because I didn't know his story, but I certainly knew of him. I didn't know I was a fan of this guy for a long time. Been listening to this guy for 20 years. He was a little bit salty, as he put it, that he was not listed on my list of famous ex-Jehovah's Witnesses on my AMA episode a couple weeks ago. But if I had known, of course, he would have made the cut. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Nappy Roots' very own Fish Scales. Nappy Roots, multi-platinum selling, Grammy award-winning Southern fried rap group. You probably know them from their 2008 hit, Good Day. It's been used in movies, commercials. Everybody knows this song. Everybody loves this song. You get a kid's chorus in a hip-hop song, it's a fucking certified banger. You got Biggie and Lil' Kim, Get Money. You got Nas, I Can. And you got Nappy Roots, Good Day. Kids chorus, it's undeniable. So these guys have been been cranking out some hits for 20 plus years. And this guy, his publicist reached out to me. He said, yo, Scales is a fan of the show. He'd love to talk to you. I was like, shit, absolutely. Let's make it happen. So super cool talking to this guy. I've been aware of Nappy Roots since I was 19 years old. Their first single, Oh No. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Give it a search. It's a great tune. That's what put them on the map, that song. And these guys have been active. These guys have had a solid career for 20 years. I think they're about to put out their 9th studio album this September. So they're vets. They're still touring. They're still doing it. They all still get along. I think it's the same lineup as when they first started. It's pretty cool. That's a rarity. So it was very, very cool to talk to this guy as a lifelong hip-hop head. I got super, super, super into hip-hop when I was 15 years old. A little too much. Like Baby Blue, Kangol Cap, 555 Soul, corduroy cargo pants. I drove a Volkswagen Golf that I bought for $700 that I put a $900 stereo system into, 2 12-inch subwoofers. My stereo system cost more than my car. I was one of those guys. I looked ridiculous. I really did. But when you grow up in a town that is basically an LL Bean catalog come to life, and you are starved for black culture, you create your own. There was cultural appropriation to the max, just a bunch of middle to upper class white kids bumping Dave Matthews Band 1 second and DMX the next. It was a fucking wild time. So yeah, that was me. That was me in high school, because we didn't. There was no diversity. There was no diversity in Ridgefield, Connecticut at all. We had one black kid the entire time I was in high school. 4 years, one black kid. And he wasn't a particularly cool guy. He was a star basketball player, but he fucked everyone's girlfriend. But everybody still wanted to be his friend just so they could claim to have a black friend. And nobody even cared that he fucked everyone's girlfriend either. They were like, hey man, you take us to state, you can take my woman. Go for it. Have a blast. But anyway, it was very cool talking to Fish Scales. We had a great conversation about all his aspirations growing up that he was discouraged from pursuing. He had wanted to be a rapper and or basketball player from a very young age. And it seemed like he had a basketball career ahead of him. He was good and he was committed. He would sneak off to practices despite his parents' discouragement. And he had a coach rally behind him, really mentor him. But, that's one of the many things on the no-fly list with Jehovah's Witnesses. You cannot play organized sports. It takes you away from the organization. It's worldly influence. It's locker room talk. You can't do that. So he had to fight a hard battle, and he didn't give up. He didn't crumble through all the guilt and shame and fear mongering. It was pretty cool to hear his experience. I wanted to be a fine artist growing up. That was my big aspiration. I wanted to be a comic book artist or an illustrator. My mom actually encouraged me not to pursue it in that realm, but she encouraged my fine art because her dream for me was to do the illustrations that you see in the Jehovah's Witness publications. She wanted me to work in the art department at Brooklyn Bethel and paint smiling zombies filling fruit baskets in paradise, or like little kids dry humping a Bengal tiger next to a waterfall. You know the illustrations. They're all over the Watchtower magazines. That's what her dream was for me. And once I knew that, I was like, you motherfucker. I knew you had ulterior motives. I don't want to paint that shit. I wasn't even trying to draw anything outlandish. If I had tried to draw this kind of things that my son currently draws, I would have been committed. My son draws the most horrifying things. He's an amazing artist too. Let me preface it with that. He has more talent in his pinky finger than I've ever had in my entire life. He's a fantastic artist. I would say he's a prodigy in terms of his abilities as a 7-year-old, but he draws the most nightmarish creatures, demons, ghouls, monsters, the kind of thing that if I drew, I would have been committed immediately. I would have been lobotomized. I would have a drill bit through my eyes in no time. And with him, it's fine because he's a sweet, sensitive kid with a heart of gold. He's got a little darkness in there, but he gets it out, which I think that's the way to do it, It's better to, I'd rather he draw it than keep it repressed and 20 years later help his buddies burn down an apartment to collect insurance money. But tale for another time, leave you with a cliffhanger. But without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Nappy Roots' very own Fish Scales.
This is Jehovah's Day.
Fish Scales, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here.
Yo, what up? Man, thank you for having me, man. I'm a fan of the show. Very excited to be here.
I appreciate that, man. When you're is Was it Josh? Is that your business manager?
Yeah, Phil. No, he's my PR publicist.
PR. Okay.
He's
Yeah.
yeah.
When he reached out to me, man, it was like, I think I got the message like at like 1:00 in the morning, right as I was falling asleep, and I was like, Nappy Roots, holy shit, dude! I remember when On Awe came out in, what was it, 2002? Summer of 2002. Dude, I remember I was 19 years old. I remember seeing that video premiere on MTV Jams, and it fucking hooked me from the start, man. So that was a cool message to receive.
Appreciate it, man. It was life changing for us. That song changed my life.
I bet.
Yeah.
And where are you located right now? Are you in Atlanta or Kentucky?
I'm in Atlanta. I moved from Kentucky. As soon as I got some money, I moved away from Kentucky. As soon as we had a little success, which I'm the only member that's not from Kentucky. I'm actually from Georgia, Millersville, Georgia. Yeah. But I wanted to play basketball at West Kentucky, and that was kind of the start of my journey.
Nice. Okay. So pretty much the whole group is from Atlanta?
Yep, the whole group is from Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry.
Again,
okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm the only one. It's two of us in Atlanta now, and two of us are still in Kentucky. So we kind of meet up on the weekends and do shows and stuff. Kind of cool, man.
And you guys have a brewery in Atlanta, right? That I understand.
Atlantucky, man. Yup. I'm living the life, man. I rap and make beer for a living. You know, I can't. I got no complaints at all.
Yeah, man. Not bad. That's awesome. Yep. Atlantucky, and it seems to be doing well, dude. Number one brewery in Atlanta by Atlanta Magazine, right?
Number one by Atlanta Magazine. Also, we just going number 7, I think, in USA Today for new breweries in the country. We came in at number 7 behind some really good breweries. So we're proud, man. We're in our 2nd year, and things are picking up, really picking up for us.
And how hands-on are you in the brewing process? Are you there from the ground floor doing all the tastings and making suggestions to the team to get the perfect recipe? Yeah.
A lot of tasting. A lot of tasting. But I actually make the beer. Me and my partner, we go in twice a week. We mill the grain. We brew the beer. We ferment it. We do everything ourselves. Write the recipes and all. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. Started in my garage a little bit before the pandemic, but as touring slowed up, we had to find the next thing to move to, you know, and beer kind of fits right into what we do as rappers. You know, everybody at our store is drinking beer or, you know, some kind of spirit. So it worked out.
Wow.
Definitely worked out.
So you started out kind of like moonshiners, making some bathtub brewings, and then got some legit equipment and supplies and an actual home base. That's cool.
Exactly. Got lucky. We had a brewery called Monday Night Brewing in Atlanta. They donated us some equipment after we had been brewing in my garage. We just took off with that, man. So we kind of moved fast. We took, you know, some of our rap money and put it toward beer and just put our heads down. And I'll tell you, it's not a get rich quick scheme at all. You know, it's kind of like we created a 9-to-5 for ourselves because it's a lot of work that goes into it, but at least we're working for ourselves. So it's fulfilling.
That's cool, fulfilling. Man.
And I get to drink a limited amount of beer, so that works.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your sobriety, right?
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yes.
Much power to you. Much power to you.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. I had my fill. So yeah. I'd love to come down there and take a tour with my hands tied behind my back.
We can do that. We can arrange that.
I actually did something. I shot this series for Car Shield. You know about Car Shield? You get all those scam emails.
I do.
You do?
I do. I fell for the Home Shield, and I said, you know, it's okay, but I had to ask around about the Car Shield, and the answers I was getting was not good at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's not for everybody, but we had to. I went down. I got hired to shoot this series for them. It was like a travelogue series, and we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and we did a tour of a moonshine facility there.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 30 days into my sobriety, and just like the smells alone, I was like, oh. And my co-host was doing all these tastings and shit, and they had all these. They had like 30 different flavors, and I was really thrown to the wolves, man. It was trial by fire, so I'm pretty proud that I.
Because Tennessee and Kentucky are two places you don't want to be sober. Like, that's what they do. They drink bourbon and whiskey and smoke cigarettes. That's what those two states are known for: tobacco and alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even, I hadn't even drank. I'm counting like total sobriety from everything is my day count now, as they say. But I hadn't drank in almost 3 years. But I remember moonshine in particular, I have a positive association with, because I drank. A buddy of mine made some bathtub moonshine, like literally in his bathtub. He got a recipe from his uncle. This dude grew up in Georgia, and he got a recipe from his uncle, made a batch in his bathtub, and we drank some in the parking lot before a Method Man concert in D.C. when I was 20 years old, and had the time of my life. Yeah, dude.
Like fun.
So I smelled that smell, and I was like, "Well, yeah, this is bringing me back."
Came back, yeah. Moonshine was never my thing, man. I didn't really appreciate it much, and I guess it's too late to start drinking that now. So I'm good on moonshine.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with that, man. But I also got to tell you, so like I told my son, I have a son who's going to be 8 in September, and I told him that I was going to be talking to you today, and I was like, "Do you know who that is?" And he was like, "No," and I played Good Day for him because he's a big fan of the movie Secret Life of Pets, and which the song was used in Secret Life of Pets. And I was like, "Do you know this song?" And I start playing it for him. He's like, "Of course I know that song." And I was like, "I'm going to be talking to the guy that you're listening to right now," and his fucking jaw hit the floor. So thank you for giving me some cool points.
I appreciate it, man. I listened to the episode where I think y'all was naming JW celebrities. And I was impressed, man. Some of the names I didn't know. I was a little salty. I didn't come up, but now I'm joking. But I was impressed with the list, man. The list is pretty strong.
Right?
You put a real band together of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's something.
Dude,
really good band.
There's a lot of greatness in there, right?
Yes, it's crazy, man. It's kind of crazy.
And tell me, did you know that Ja Rule was a Jehovah's Witness?
I heard that. I think I heard something to that effect, and it don't surprise me. Like, it's kind of weird, and I'm sure you can relate. You can almost just tell, like with certain people, you can just kind of, even from the lyrics, like Ja Rule is not his lyrics weren't foul, like super aggressive or violent lyrics. Also Bone Thugs, I think Lazy Bone was one. And I don't know, maybe I'm seeing it after the fact, but when you say Ja Rule, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And I could totally see that.
I mean, I had no idea, and he was hiding in plain sight. I mean, like I said, the name alone, it's crazy. Just drop the H.
The biggest name for me was, you said Biggie, and I did not know that one. Biggie Smalls, where's mother at least?
Right. I think from what I have heard and read, she tried to rope him in, but he was having no part of it. She was staunch. She was on the straight and narrow.
Yes, you got to catch him early, man. Maybe she caught him too late, and if you don't get in early, like most people, once you get friends and you're kind of like a cool kid, it's a tough religion for you. Like it doesn't really fit the lifestyle of a kid who's considered cool. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get into your backstory then. Are you multi-generational? Were your parents into it, or how did you get roped in?
My parents were pregnant with my older brother, who was about 3 years older than me, and that's when they approached her with the you got a new kid, do you not want to live forever with your kid? Don't you want the best life for your son? And that appealed to them. So they joined about 3 years before I was born. And so when I was born, they was all the way into it. So I was born into it. First 19 years of my life, I guess I was physically in, I was all the way in. I thought, I never questioned it. I never questioned the religion. I had no problem with it until I went to college. That's when things started to wake me up. I took a religious studies class in college, and I remember the professor. He was going through all the religions, and he just started talking about the origin of religion. And it didn't make sense to me, because in my head, I felt like Jesus was a Jehovah's Witness. I just thought that Jehovah's Witnesses was always here. And I didn't realize that there was an actual man who said, you know what, I'm leaving this and I'm going to create this. And that's what totally woke me up. Like, okay, this is just another man's idea. And that totally woke me up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also thought, I thought like, I know Catholics believe in Jesus, but they have some sort of fucking warped view, because he's on our side.
Right.
He's not on your side.
Exactly. I thought he was a Jehovah's Witness. Like, I just knew Jesus was part of the congregation, and it's just weird, and everybody else was wrong. Everybody else was wrong.
That's so funny, man. Because if you were able to go back in time and go up to Jesus in person, be like, Jesus, my brother, finally a fellow Jehovah's Witness. He'd be like, what are you talking about?
Brother Jesus, Brother Christ, how you doing?
Yeah.
It would be dope, man. I had a unique story. I guess I was unique in the sense of around 16 years old, I wanted to play basketball. Like, I'm 6'5". I was known around town for being pretty good at basketball, but I wasn't able to play because of Jehovah's Witness. And I think that's where most of my anger came from early in life. It's just like, I want to play basketball. That's all that mattered, was high school basketball. And I was told that I couldn't. But and my father's favorite scripture was something about Jesus raking leaves into his bosom and not getting dirty. Like, you're gonna get dirty. Basically, bad association spoils useful habits, pretty much, type of thing. And so that was used against me over and over. And you understand the idea of, if you're not in the Kingdom Hall, you're a bad person. So, you go to school, you get off the bus, you come back in the house where it's safe, pretty much. And I just couldn't subscribe to that, man. I had friends. Like, I was somewhat cool. I was considered a cool kid. So it was impossible for me not to have some friends who weren't in the Kingdom Hall. And that was the huge conflict for me, like, huge conflict.
Dude, even just you saying bad association spoils useful habits, I felt like I was just sucked through a portal to being 8 years old and asking my mom to have a friend over that was a non-Jehovah's Witness. And her saying that for me over and over, always the same answer: bad association spoil useful habits.
Yeah.
Which is, again, you just want to slam your head against a fucking wall when you're trying to like ask your mom something, and she just keeps quoting the Bible in front of you. It's infuriating. It's tough, it's like, talk to me like a human being. And I too, man, I had like, I'm not going to say I was like the coolest kid, but I had plenty of opportunities to hang out with kids from school. And I remember in middle school, I had a pretty tight group of friends, which is it even surprises me to say that, because I wasn't playing sports with these guys. I wasn't going to dances. I wasn't hanging out after school. This was only like association within school, and these kids still considered me part of their friend group. And I was always the odd man out in terms of like when they would hang out on the weekends. And I remember in like 8th grade, they did like a conference call, almost like an intervention with me. And like
Wow.
they were like, dude, what is it? What is it with you? Like what's going on where you won't hang out with us? Like what's happening? And I had to, because that the whole time I wasn't fessing up to why I couldn't. I would just make up excuses, you know. Oh, I got to go up to New Hampshire to visit my grandparents. Oh, I had so many. I had the hugest family, dude. Which not in truth, but like theoretically to have excuses, you know. Oh, my cousin down in North Carolina. I don't have a fucking cousin in North Carolina. I was always jet setting all over the country to get out of plans with these worldly friends of mine, and they confronted me on it, and I finally had to fess up and be like, I'm not allowed to, man. My mom won't let me because you're not Jehovah's Witnesses, and they couldn't wrap their head around it, so it didn't make anything better. They didn't understand.
Nah, it's a huge conflict, man. And again, I'm not saying I was the cool kid, but I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be around the cool kids. I can remember my yard was the yard where everybody played basketball. I had a nice goal in the back. And the kids would be out there playing while I'm getting dressed to go to the Kingdom Hall. And I could just remember like, man, y'all please stay here until I get back. Like just, I hope everybody's here because it's going to be 2 or 3 hours before I get back. But, you know, please stick around till I get back, change clothes, and can come back and play with y'all. And I just think back on that, man. I really hated it as a kid. I didn't question it, but I hated it because, again, you know, you're cut off from a lot of the things that other kids are able to do. And, you know, it was wild. I can remember wanting to do karate. I mean, this should have woke me up as a 9-year-old. Like, I wanted to do a karate class just for self-defense. And somewhere that came back up, bad association for useful habits. And that was always to go to. There was a scripture. And once they pull the scripture out, you can't argue with it. Like, no matter how they interpret it, this is what it says. And you kind of got to roll with it. And that was tough on me.
Let me ask you this, though. When you asked your friends to wait for you on the basketball court, did they wait?
Oh, no. It was never that. I mean, it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours, they're done. They moved on to something else. And I would come home hoping and pulling the driveway and they're all gone.
I was picturing you pulling in the driveway, just stepping out, ripping off your clip-on tie, and catching an alley-oop with your penny loafers.
That's a great scene. I wish that's how it went. It did not go that way.
Dude, I know it chews up so much time. I always tell people it's like working a part-time job.
3 times a week, man. And like for you, I don't know. Let me ask you. For me, the beginning of the school year was the hardest because you knew those 3 months were coming up. At some point, October's coming, and that's Halloween. Then Thanksgiving, then Christmas. And during those times, when I was younger, more elementary school, you would leave the class. Like the teacher would say, okay, we're going to make hand turkeys. Melvin, you can go to the library. And it's just, you know, I would have to get up and just leave. And I always remember one girl, she wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, but her mom didn't like Halloween either. You know, a lot of religions don't like Halloween for whatever reason. And I just felt like she was my ally during that time. Like just me and this little girl, she's not a Jehovah's Witness, but she understood. So I'm trying to witness to her, tell her why I don't. And it was just a tough time, man. When January came, it was such a relief for me. Like it literally was a relief that I made it through another holiday season and didn't get, you know, laughed at or didn't get called out too bad. You know, it was just a fear for me every year. And I think one thing, I think my parents don't understand that. You know, I always have to say, I lived a great life. Like my parents were there. I had everything I needed, food, clothing. They were great parents. But I don't think they understand what it's like being a kid growing up Jehovah's Witness. You know, that's just a whole different experience that you kind of have to go through to really understand it. And I always stress that I'm not saying it was a bad life. I'm not complaining about my life, but it is an experience that you need to come to understand. I have to come to understand that was 19 years of my life that I need to go back and see what that was. That's how I approached it. Like when I left at 19, I said, oh shit, what was that I was just saying? Like I'm outside of it now. I can really study it and from the outside looking in. And I just learned so much to the point where it's no turning back for me, you know. And my whole family is still in it. They're all still a part. My little brother just turned an elder about 2 weeks ago. Like he's a superstar now. He is a star. And it's cool. I appreciate your show a lot, man, because it's just like everything you're saying I can relate to. Every bit of it, you know.
Dude, what you were saying about those 3 months of school, I cannot relate more to that, man. Absolutely. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, that triple whammy. If you can get through that, absolutely. And yes, when you're in elementary school, I mean, holidays are everything, you know. So it's like an entire month devoted to Halloween, an entire month devoted to drawing, making some spooky ghosts out of like some cloth, cutting out eye holes out of a cloth, and it's all arts and crafts, a month of making hand turkeys, a month of making gingerbread houses, like these immersive activities that, I don't know about you, I would have to excuse myself from the room. So I was basically, like a truant for 3 months of the year, hanging out in the library, just waiting out all these arts and crafts times with these activities that I desperately wanted to be a part of, but couldn't. And then
the teacher would call you out.
Yeah.
Like the teacher knew from the first day, okay, you were supposed to tell them you were a witness, or your parents would, so they knew. It's just, okay, Scales, they called Melvin at the time, you may now go to the library. Right as the fun is starting. Everybody is excited to make hand turkeys, and I got to go, for whatever reason. Let me ask you also, did you feel like you were missing Christmas? Was Christmas something that I didn't feel like I missed Christmas. Like I didn't have a problem with it.
That's funny that you asked me that, man, because like I felt like I wanted to be a part of what everybody else was doing in school. So the activities leading up to Christmas. But as far as like Christmas at home, no, I didn't, because I had nothing to compare it to. Like you and I, it sounds like we were both born into it. So we never had it taken away from us. That's all we knew was no Christmas. And like my parents had something, and I've talked to other Jehovah's Witnesses about this. I'm curious to hear if your family did the same thing. So to compensate for not having a Christmas, we had a family day, which usually was like December 26th, like the day after Christmas, where you get present. There's no tree, but everybody gets presents. Everybody in the family trades presents, and you have a big fancy meal together. But it's not Christmas. We're not celebrating anything. We're just celebrating the love that we have for each other as a family. Did you guys have anything like that?
That's pretty extreme to actually give gifts. We didn't, but we did have my mom would go buy us new shoes. So when you come back off the Christmas break, I would have new shoes. So it looked like I had a Christmas gift. But yeah, to give gifts, that's pretty cool of your parents, actually. Now we didn't, because I had so much family that wasn't Jehovah's Witness, that I would get some gifts. Like my grandmother would give us, a couple of gifts, which it was cool to take, but couldn't give anything back, which was always weird too. But I think now I have more of a problem with Father's Day, Mother's Day. Like I feel like shit not posting Happy Father's Day when everybody else is posting, my dad is the greatest dad in the world. My dad even asked us not to do that. He asked us not to get him anything. Well, even though I know they probably would like something, it's a conflict. I don't know what to do. Should I get him something just because, or should I just totally respect the religion and leave it alone? Those two are harder for me than the same way it was as a kid, not doing Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween. Now I feel like shit as a son, just like I don't even post my parents on Mother's Day and Father's Day. You know, and they great parents. They deserve it. You know?
You should, if you should just make a big hullabaloo about them the day before Mother's Day, the day before Father's Day. Do the same shit that my family did. Like, what? It's not Mother's Day. I'm just happen to be thinking of you especially hard on this day.
On this day, you know? I'm gonna take notes on that.
It sucks, man. I know. Like, I'm in a fortunate position in that regard because, you know, my mom died when I was 17, so Mother's Day is off the table.
Sorry,
my dad, thank you. My dad is 92. He's not a witness anymore, so I am able to, you know, celebrate him on Father's Day. But yeah, I would imagine that would be really hard. But the other thing I wanted to say about holidays as a kid is, like, you know, in elementary school it's brutal. I totally get what you were saying about January. You're like, oof, you breathe a sigh of relief. You know, there's nothing coming up until, like, what's the next big thing? Valentine. You got Valentine's or St. Patrick's Day, but those kind of come and go. Those kind of fly under the radar. Those are easy to kind of sweep under the rug. But then once you get to be like middle school, high school age, then you can act like you not celebrating holidays is like cool. You know what I mean? Where kids are like, you dressing up, you going trick-or-treating? You're like, no, man, that's fucking lame. You kidding me? I'm not a little kid. I'm a big kid. I'm not dressing up. That's lame. You try to play it off like cool, or like, you know, when you get to be like a senior in high school, kids are talking about Christmas gifts. You're like, Christmas sucks, man. You're just patting the pockets of a bunch of capitalist pigs. You try to put this spin on it.
You know, and I grew up in the rap era, you know, trying to be cool. Like, we ain't got it. You know, I even approached like, we just ain't got it. We from the streets. Like, we don't do no Christmas and stuff. Like, you know, it was cool to have a little struggle in your life. So I leaned on that as I got older, like, and which wasn't true. But, you know, whatever you do to get through that school year, you did it. You tried to get through.
And now, dude, even now though, like, I don't know if it's residual effects of growing up that way, because you know, you and I have a lot of parallels. Both born into it. You got out when you were 19. I got out when I was 20. You know, I'm 40 now. Are we about how old are you? You mind me asking?
46.
46. Okay, so we're pretty close in age. So like, I'm quite a bit removed from it now, as are you, and I still, when January rolls around, and my birthday is January 2nd, and even now that I get to celebrate holidays, with my son, which I'm able to enjoy holidays now because I'm able to see the joy that he gets out of it. But otherwise, I still don't give a shit, man. I still do not give a shit. I don't like a big deal being made about my birthday. And once things get back into like some degree of normalcy in January, when everybody else is depressed because the highlight of the year for them, I don't know, I feel like so many people have this big lead up to this celebratory end of year, and I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines like, man, this isn't real life. Once January comes, that's fucking real life. When you get back to brass tacks and you're back to your shitty job and your boring ass existence, that's real life. And it's kind of like there's a weird comfort that I take in just settling back into like normalcy.
Yeah, I love it. Like, now I asked my wife, do you want to do Christmas this year? It's up to you. Like, I will or I won't. I have no problem with skipping Christmas. Any holiday. My birthday, I'm with you. I don't know if that's a Jehovah's Witness thing, but I could care less about a birthday. Like, any of these holidays, I still don't care about. It's just sitting around eating with the family. That's the only thing I've really seen as something I wanted with like Christmas. I felt like the family got around. It's probably cold. You're sitting around the fireplace. You're hanging out as a family. That part I do like, but everything else I'm good on. Like, I don't feel I missed any of that. You know,
exactly.
So that part, Jehovah's Witness might have got that right. Got that one right.
And I also feel like, do you have kids or no?
All step kids.
I think there's a tremendous joy in having kids open Christmas presents, and I love my son experiencing that. You know, like I've gone heavy. You know, he celebrates. My wife is half Jewish, so we do Christmas and Hanukkah. You know what I mean? Like, I fucking lean hard into the holidays with him now because I want him to have the experiences that I didn't have growing up. That's important to me.
Right.
So I take tremendous joy in giving him presents, but I also think that adults buying other adults that have jobs and money of their own, there's something kind of insane about that to me.
That's true.
It's like anytime I buy a gift for another adult, as they're opening their gift, I'm kind of like, I hope they don't hate this, like, what are the odds they're going to be like, oh my God, I never would have thought how much I needed this or wanted this. How did you figure, like, we're all adults with our own money. Anything we really want, we can get ourselves.
Exactly. And I know too many adults. Like, how do I choose who I'm getting a gift for this year? Like, it's just a whole headache I can do without. I turn back Jehovah's Witness during the holidays. This is my way out. I don't get anybody anything. Don't worry about getting me anything. We're good. I'm studying again.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, every time the holidays roll around, that's the one thing that makes me wonder, should I get back involved? That's a hell of an excuse to get out of present season. And it also kind of makes me wonder if that's why my dad, because my dad was not he was on the sidelines when I was growing up. He wasn't against it, but he wasn't in it. And I kind of wonder if he was, I'm one of 4 kids. If he was like, well, my wife's raising our kids in a cult, but I don't have to remember to get Christmas presents or birthday presents for the rest of their lives. All right, let's do it.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
So, and you have how many siblings?
2. I have an older brother and a younger brother. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and my older brother, he's not all the way in it, but he's definitely not against it. He just feel like he's not on track with his life, and one day he'll get back on track with the Jehovah's Witness. That's how I view it,
So it's your younger brother who just became an elder?
Yeah, the younger brother. He's full-fledged, man. He's strong. I'm actually proud of him, for, whatever you're doing, do it full speed, do it, full head on. And he's taking it on. And it's interesting because we are night and day. We're totally night and day. But the beautiful thing about my family is they respect me. They respect my choice. They know not to bring it up ever because I've just studied too much. And, my questions can hit real hard, So we don't talk religion no more. And that's pretty cool. Even though I want to. A lot of times, like when I hear them talking, I just want to interject with, especially when they're talking about other religions, I'm like, well, y'all kind of do the same thing, and matter of fact, maybe worse in certain categories, but, I don't. I just kind of respect it because there was a time for me where I was angry. Like I was really angry. I touched on it about basketball. I didn't play my freshman year, nor any years before that. In sports, you kind of start playing when you're in 4th grade. Like all the guys who on my basketball team, they had been playing together since they were like 10 years old. And I could never play. Each year I would just watch my cousin go play rec league, then middle school, then high school came, and I said, I gotta play. Like I just gotta play. And 9th grade, they sent elders to come talk to me. And my cousin was the elder that would come and talk to me. And by the time they finished talking to me, I would be calmed down. I'd say, okay, I guess I'm not playing. But by my 10th grade year, I just stopped coming home. I actually ran away. Came back the next day because I didn't realize how hard it was. But I ran away. I just stopped riding the bus home and started going to basketball practice. And, for JW or any parent, if you're used to coming home at 4:30 and your kid is no longer getting off the bus, that's a big deal. And so that's what I kind of started doing. And before long, the coach called my parents and said, your son has been coming to practice. And by then, they just had gave up on keeping me from playing. And I made the All-State. Like I became honorable mention All-American basketball player, all kind of scholarships coming in. and they were my biggest fans. My parents missed one game out of my 3 years of playing. And it was funny because the coach, he had been recruiting me to play for a long time. And he would tell my parents, his thing was, I will not let him become a bad person. Like, I watch him. I look over him while he's at practice, to make sure that other players, now that I'm thinking about it, it sounds terrible, but to make sure the other players don't rub off on me. So even at practice, coach would be cussing us out. Then he would turn to me, sorry, bro, sorry. Like, it was really embarrassing. We still joke about it to this day. Like, everybody look back like, why he ain't getting cussed out?
That's great.
And,
you look like a pack of fucking assholes out there. Not you, though.
That's you, no, you good. And it was cool. Coach made sure the whole team came to a meeting one time. That was pretty cool. Like, my whole basketball team came to the Kingdom Hall, which the elders loved that. They looked at it like, okay, you're making something out of it. And it was just an experience. But I was so upset, man, that basically everything I have right now is because I played basketball. I went off to college and made friends who I started businesses with. And I think back, like, I almost didn't have that, and I kind of got mad at my father for, like, you was going to let these people keep your son away from playing basketball. You weren't going to step in and say, nah, this is my son. I know what he wants, and I want him to play as well. But I feel like he didn't stand up for me in that regard. I had to force it on my own as a 16-year-old kid, and I have no regrets about it, but I was very angry for some years. Just like, why would you let them take that from me? Why would you let any other man come in our house and tell you that I can't follow my dream? And that really, it stuck with me. Man, now I'm no longer mad. I understand why my father and mother did what they did. I understand why the religion appealed to them. I understand why they're still in it. I totally get it. I get it now, but I'm more interested than I've ever been in Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, it's so interesting to me about who they are and the tactics and the history of them. Just studying it from the outside is super interesting, man. I learn something new every day.
That's amazing, man. How did you get to that place of acceptance and forgiveness? Because it has taken me about 15 years of therapy, multiple psychedelic trips, and now sobriety to get there. So how the fuck did you do it?
Man, well, I got a cousin who's a popular DJ in Atlanta. He also grew up Jehovah's Witness. And he was the guy that in recent years, last 5-6 years, we just talk it out, man. Like, we talk it out, and he's no longer either. And he helps me understand some of the reasons I do some of the things I do, and I help him too. Like, it definitely has an impact on who you become. But as far as my parents, I look at it. My dad is respected in this community. Like, what other community is my dad really respected him the way he is in the Kingdom Hall? My mother, she's the wife of an elder. She sits up front with the nice dress on. And, everybody waves at her and understand you got to respect Sister Adams. My brother, he's working his way up in the ranks. He's a new elder. He gives Sunday talks. This is their community. Like, I had basketball, and that's what gave me an out. Like, I became friends. I moved out of the state and went to West Kentucky to play basketball. So I had an easier path to get out. But I could see how they don't. They just don't. Their whole community, their whole family, everything they do is involved in the Kingdom Hall. Even I feel like even if Jesus came down himself and said, this is not the right religion, I think they would still go with it because they're so embedded in it. Like, it's everything to them. And I have to respect that, because if I convince them to leave it, what am I offering? What am I offering you in terms of I mean, I can name a lot of things, but I don't have a religion that I believe in anymore. I don't have a hope of an everlasting life in paradise. So, I got no reason to strip them of that, you know. So that's kind of, I guess, that played a part.
I think that's a really good point, man. What you said is that they have a stature that they wouldn't have otherwise. And I, as you were saying that, I was thinking that was absolutely true of my mom. My mom was a very meek, kind of insecure person, from what I hear, before she got involved with Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses kind of gave her this room to kind of blossom and grow, which I know sounds counterintuitive because, your wings are clipped, you're forced to fall in line and conform to very strict standards and practices. But her commitment to it allowed her to rise amongst the ranks, where she was held in very high esteem, really looked up to by people in the congregation. And I remember when we left her memorial service at the Kingdom Hall, me and my entire family sitting in the front row, and I remember walking out of the Kingdom Hall, and every row was full. We walked past the last row, standing room only, all the way down the entire corridor of the Kingdom Hall, people spilling out the door out into the street. It was like fucking Biggie's funeral. There were people it was nuts. There's people in the street outside of the Kingdom Hall. It was sold out, man. It was like standing room only. It was crazy. And it kind of made me realize, like, okay, she really felt like she found something here. She watched her entire family slip through her fingers in the process, but she had so much admiration. She had so many people looking up to her, and such a sense of community that she didn't have, such a sense of family that she didn't have growing up, that this really did kind of fill that void for her. And that was the first time I was able to really see that, So I think it does that with a lot of people.
Yeah, very true, man. Like, and I also realized these are good people. Like, these are good people. I can't say Jehovah's Witnesses, though. If anything, they are probably better than most groups of people, as far as hardworking, honest people. It's the people at the top. I think that's kind of what helped me let go of some of my anger. It's a hell of a system put in place to keep these people brainwashed or keep them believing in what they believe in. It's a system that is set up, is built off fear. It's a lot of fear. I can remember telling my mom some things, and right away she'd be like, you better watch how you saying that. You better watch, watch it, or you could get struck down right now. It's like physical, instant fear like that is put on you, that something, if you talk bad, God will maybe do something to you for being blasphemous or being an apostate. And everybody don't have the strength to go against that, and I did. I just said, look, man, if there's a God up there, then if I ever get to meet him, I think he did it wrong. I think you're doing it wrong. And I don't mind going to my grave saying that, because I like helping people. And I like being there for people. And I feel like this organization, that's not what it's about, really. It's not really about that. And it's the people up top that I'm still mad at. Because I feel like it's a wrong for the guys who are being very manipulative and know exactly what they're doing, but nobody else does. Everybody else actually believes they're doing the right thing, for the most part. Yes.
Everybody believes they are actually in service of Jehovah, when in actuality, they're in service of the governing body, which is a bunch of fucking rich old white dudes.
That's what makes me really upset to this day. Like, you are tricking my family, and I don't like that. I don't like lying, period. I don't like people who lie or manipulate, and that just doesn't sit well with me.
But that must have taken tremendous courage on your part, man, because you're so powerless as a kid. You got both your parents in it, your siblings are in it, you got a whole congregation rallying behind them, looking down on you, telling you need to do better, you need to shape up, God is watching you, God is judging you, And for you to take a stand and be like, if that's how this God is going to view me, that ain't the God for me. That's remarkable, man. And what you said about your father, you know, I know you've let go of it, but the resentment you had against your father for allowing another man to tell you that you couldn't follow your dreams, and that you had this basketball coach supporting you, like, that's so true, man. Like, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's all about like clipping your wings, you know, and it doesn't take much to do it. You know, you take a parrot and you put them in captivity, you only got to pluck a couple of feathers out to render them flightless, you know? Yeah. But that's all it takes. And then they're just stuck in that cage forever. And that's what they do. Well, they minimize your whole approach to your worldview. They keep you handicapped in a way, and they keep your thinking manipulated to an extent where you hit a glass ceiling. You can only go so far, you know? And once you go to college, once you start hanging out with people that think differently from you, and this whole world opens up to you, and you're able to actually go for your dreams or entertain the idea of shooting for something outside of this very crippling bubble that you're kept in. It's amazing that you were able to do that, man, because so many people just succumb to it. They just kind of shrug it off, and like they may get to a place where they know that they're going to live a miserable existence, but they don't have the willpower to try to overcome that. Right. So they're like, all right, I guess I'll just remain stuck in this bubble for the rest of my life and make the most of it.
Yeah, it holds you, man. It definitely holds you. And growing up, we didn't have the internet, so I don't know how they keep people now. Like, I can't imagine nobody in the Kingdom has not seen some anti-JW videos. Like, there's no way you can, because at some point, everybody is going YouTube Jehovah's Witness. The most honest Jehovah's Witness. At some point, you go Google Jehovah's Witness. And I know my algorithm, I know what pops up. But I think it's just so much anti-JW, or so many people like us who have left. And I listened to podcasts today about, it wasn't speaking nasty about it. It wasn't being harsh to Jehovah's Witness. It was just telling facts. So I don't see how any Jehovah's Witness can avoid seeing these things in 2023. But, I guess everybody needs to see it on their own and, take their own journey. But I couldn't be happier with how my life is turning out. I've been shot. I've been robbed. I've been through a lot of things, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, it was my choices that I made. And it's more very high reward for taking the risk that I've taken. And I would have never took them if I'd have just stayed in Millersville, Georgia, and pretty much pursued that as a career, because it is a career, a non-paying career, but I think my brother views it as a career.
Yeah, absolutely. So when were the first seeds planted in terms of becoming a musician or becoming a rapper? And when did you really start to entertain that as a possibility?
I was rapping as a kid, and I would hide all my lyrics under the bed, because, you didn't supposed to do a lot of that stuff. But I had been rapping, and through high school, I kind of went known as rapper, kind of known as basketball player, back and forth. But I've always pursued rapping. And when I went to college, I met my partner, Skinny DeVille, another Nappy Roots member, and we kind of formed a group. Once I was in college, I was my own man. Like, nobody was over my shoulder. I tried to do a study once. We studied, just to please my parents. I called them, look, I'm at college, but I'm still doing a Bible study. And that faded because it wasn't in my heart. It just wasn't there. But once the music took off in 2002, it was crazy because I never got baptized. I got a close family member who was baptized in this fellowship. And I just remember, like, when the witnesses would have an event, they would ask me to come. Like, I'll tell them, I'm rapping about smoking weed and, women and all this stuff, and they still want me to come. But my family member who wants so bad to be a part of this again, she couldn't come. Like, and that was another red flag to me. Like, here's a person who really want to hang with y'all, and y'all are shunning her in such a rude way. But y'all want me, like, rapping about bullshit. Like, but you want me there? And I think that was fame, a little bit of fame. And that just let me know, okay, this thing real love. Like, you would never shun somebody who's trying to get back in your grace as much as they are. And me, I'm trying to get away from you. And you want me to come hang out because I'm on TV and I'm, selling records. And that was just a red flag. Like, listen, and I wouldn't go because if she can't go, I'm not going. Like, and, a lot of red flags like that. But the music took off, and again, my parents became my biggest fans again. I just know in their heart, they got to be conflicted in their heart. You know what I'm saying? Because I see the love they would have at the basketball game and the love that they had when they had my shows. But if they would have stuck to the word, to their truth, none of that would happen, So it's got to be conflict in for them.
Yeah, I'm sure, because as you know, the amount of pressure that's put on Jehovah's Witnesses as a family unit, and like you are very much judged in terms of, is your whole family on board with this? Oh, a couple of your kids are not in it. Well, you're not. You kind of lose points to a certain extent, Right. So I'm sure that they probably still feel somewhat scrutinized by the higher ups in terms of like, oh yeah, our one son, he's out there living that worldly life. He's rapping and smoking weed, but you are probably the happiest of the lot. And like they also, you got to remember that as parents, nothing's going to bring them greater joy than seeing their kid truly happy. And if they are able to see that, and I can just tell from talking to you that you are truly living your dream, and you set your sights on something that you wanted to do as a kid. Like if you weren't playing basketball, it sounds like you wanted to be rapping. And you got there, man, and you're doing it, and you've been doing it for 20 years. And the fact that you take that much joy out of that, I'm sure that they look at that, and if they really were to, tap into their hearts, they would be like, hey, it's okay. We're happy in doing our thing. Yeah. He's happy doing his. He's a grown man. We don't need to rope him back into this, Right. Like, I'm sure they take tremendous comfort knowing that you are an upstanding member of society. You're not hurting anybody. You're actually, and that's kind of another thing that I always think about in terms of like the whole idea of service, and like going out knocking on doors, and they're thinking of it as this duty to proselytize and bring everybody else on board and show them the truth so that they can be saved. You're moving way more people with your music than you would be by knocking on doors and getting doors slammed in your face. Because 99.9% of people do not want Jehovah's Witnesses showing up at their door. But, like when you take the stage at one of your shows, everybody in that crowd, that's the highlight of their day, their month, their year. You're truly moving people and making a difference. I'm sure your music has helped people get through hard times. People associate music with specific events and like time frames of their lives where it helps them get through things. And so you truly are doing a service through what you're doing now. And I'm sure your parents see that too.
Yeah, they are proud, and they're proud, and it is a motivation for me to show that just because I'm not in the religion anymore doesn't mean I can't be contributing. Doesn't mean I can't be a great person, and and actually show you all that there's so much more you can do for people than knock on their door and give them brochures. And I'm sure you're promising them an everlasting life, but there's things you can do for people right now that I like for them to see me doing it, because and as you know, Joe, it's not an organization of charity. It's not a give back type of system. It's help Jehovah's Witnesses and get more Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not about, oh, this guy, I just want to help him eat today. I'm not trying to save your life. I'm just, let me help you get food or whatever. And I'm very charitable in the things that I do. And I didn't do it enough growing up. I think that's why I really enjoy doing it now.
Yeah, that their whole idea of charity, which I'm assuming they would think of it as such, is entirely contingent on a future that's not going to happen. Whereas what you said, you are doing something in real time on a daily basis, you know, and that's really making a difference, because that's all we have. All we have is the present, and their whole belief system is contingent on the future,
right?
You know, so that's cool, man. I'm glad that you are on good terms with them. I'm glad that they respect you and they're proud of you, and I'm glad that even more importantly, I'm glad that you really don't seem to be resentful of them, and you can see that they're happy in their positions within the congregation. It sounds like the best possible outcome for everybody. It does not always work out that way for people.
That's what I'm learning, and I have to understand that my case situation is unique. Like, again, I had basketball, which was strong for me. Like, I had so much passion for basketball that I didn't mind if I lost God to go play basketball. I would take that. And but I understand other people don't really have that, you know, and it's harder. So I'd love to read other people's comments and hear, you know, their journey. And, you know, if I can be an ear for anybody, or I wanted to be on your podcast a lot, man, because just like people before me that you've had on has helped me, I want to also help other people, you know, get an understanding of what they're going through. And that other people have experienced it. A lot of people, you know, have experienced what they're going through.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you on, man. You're also the first non-comedian that we've had on the podcast. I said from the very start, comedians, actors, musicians, I'm happy to actually be able to put my money where my mouth is and have somebody outside of the realm of stand-up comedy. But I think it's really important for either ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or people that are currently Jehovah's Witnesses that don't want to be practicing to see an example like you have set, that you can set your sights on something bigger than this organization and strive for it and actually attain it. It's really valuable for people to see that, man, because I think it's so, like I said, it's so crippling. It really limits your belief in yourself. That totally. I think there's a lot of people who, I mean, think of how many Jehovah's Witnesses you know that are really bright, creative, intelligent people, but that's diminished. It's diminished to conform to these principles, and so they'll never get to see any of that to fruition. You know, they won't even ever give it a shot. So to see somebody like you that had the courage to leave and go for it and achieve the kind of success that you have, it's like, that's really, really inspiring for people, man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me. College, you know, I know we got to go soon, but college, I just, you know, you can look around the Kingdom Hall, and I have to say this correctly. I think my father is probably the most intelligent man I know. He's super intelligent. But the Kingdom Hall is full of uneducated people, not unintelligent, but uneducated people. And that's what also bothers me too, which goes along with what you just said. You have very intelligent people who just hadn't had a chance to further their education because of this religion. And that is where I do see a problem. You know, if I had to say a problem that is affecting people, that would be the biggest one for reaching your potential. You know, I wish my father, or I wish anybody, any Jehovah's Witness, would take the time and read what people are saying about you. Not saying you have to leave, but you're grown. You could decipher what's right and wrong. You know, don't let anybody tell you what you can read, you know, as a grown up. Don't let anybody tell you what you can look at, because I want to read everything, and then I'll decipher what I think is right. You know, and that's how I think everything in life should be. You know, you're grown. You're not incapable of figuring out what is right or wrong. Just because it entered your brain doesn't mean, oh, now I'm an apostate because I looked at a apostate video. I feel weird even saying that word, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
But yeah, man,
Hey, man.
that meant a lot. That means a lot what you just said. I want to be inspiring, just like others inspired me. And I'm here, man. Nappy Roots. That's a big part of my story is being a Jehovah's Witness. It really has a lot to do with who I am and the stuff I rap about.
That's awesome. And you guys got a new album coming out soon, right?
New album coming out. It's our 9th studio album. It's called Nappy for Life. Yeah, so we've been doing it since 1997, and we still love hanging with each other, still love making music, still touring, and living the life, man, as 40-year-old rappers.
That's beautiful, man. That's great. You guys are vets.
Definitely.
You're in it to win
man.
it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, man. It was a real pleasure talking to you, dude. And I
appreciate
was
you,
honored to have you on the show.
Man, I really appreciate you. I'm a fan, man. I hit my publicist up, and I said, yo, I really like this show. I would love to be on it, if you got space. And I appreciate you. Really, I hope the audio come out good and everything works out.
Hell yeah, man. And we'll have you back. We'll do a part two.
Please do. I'll give you an update. Let you know. I might be mad again. Who knows?
Or you might be back in it. Maybe next time I talk to you, you'll be an elder.
I'm too far gone. I made a joke. I said, if I can go back to the younger me as a kid, I would have went to the memorial and I would have said, I'm one, and drunk the wine and the crackers. And for the rest of life, I would have been one of the 144,000. You can't tell me I wasn't,
Untouchable,
that would have been cool
yes.
to do.
Dude, I've had the same thought.
As a 5-year-old, though, you just stand up, drink some wine and crackers, and from there on, you don't touch. Should tell your son, your son's not it. That would have been a great plan.
We gotta go around to Kingdom Halls and start whispering to kids, just drink the wine, you'll be fine. There you go, folks. Fish Scales from the great Nappy Roots Collective. Give them a follow at Nappy Scales, NappyScales. If you're in Atlanta, check out their brewery. These guys have a brewery, as we were talking about, Atlantucky. It's pretty cool. They're deep in the rap game, and they're getting high on their own supply in the brewing world. That's a hell of a life. Atlantucky, this place is supposed to be pretty fantastic. So check out Atlantucky Brewery if you're in Atlanta. And make sure to keep an eye out for their new album, Nappy Roots' upcoming album, dropping this September. And like I said, please continue to show your support. YouTube, Patreon. Give me a follow on Instagram at WhoDougSmith if you're not already. And keep those emails coming in. JehovahBoyPodcast@gmail.com. I don't even think I shared the email address at the top of the show. That might help, huh? JehovahBoyPodcast@gmail.com. Send in your story. You could be featured on the show. Thank you again so much for your support. Thank you to my producer, George, without whom none of this would be possible. You're dealing with a technophile, folks. Technophobe. He's the technophile. I'm the technophobe. Without him, none of this would be possible. So big shout out to my boy, George. Thank you guys again so much for listening. See you next week. Goodbye.